Have you ever had the feeling that life is happening right in front of you and you are not quite doing anything about it? Waking up a little later than you meant to, picking up your phone before you have even decided to, telling yourself you will start in a little while, but that little while never quite arrives. And by the end of the day, you are lying there again with that same quiet question. What am I actually doing with my life? Most people call this laziness. They say you need more discipline, better time management, a stronger morning routine. But psychology says something different. What is holding you back is not laziness. It is a part of your mind that is quietly, persistently avoiding something. Not a task, not a deadline. Growing up. And the uncomfortable truth is that a lot of people never grow out of this in their 20s. They carry it into their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. From the outside, they look like adults. But on the inside, there is a childlike part of them that panics every time life asks them to take real responsibility. Today, we are going inside the psychology of what Carl Jung called the eternal child. And if you can stay with this until the end, something might finally make sense that never quite did before. The psychoanalyst Carl Jung used a Latin term for this pattern: Puer Aeternus, the eternal boy. In everyday life, we know it by names like Peter Pan syndrome, or simply the inability to fully grow up. But here is what this state is not. It is not about being unintelligent or incapable. People caught in this pattern are often someone with a lot of ideas, sharp instincts, and genuine potential. The problem is something more specific: an extreme desire for absolute freedom, combined with an absolute avoidance of commitment. In this state, freedom seems to mean not being tied down by anything, not being responsible for anyone, not having to make any fixed choices that close off other possibilities. You want to keep every door open, but you never actually walk through any of them. Jung described the life this creates with a very precise phrase: the provisional life. Living provisionally means you always feel like what you are doing right now is not your real life. You work a job, but tell yourself it is only temporary, just something to get by while you wait for the real thing to begin. You live somewhere you have not quite settled into, because this is not the place you actually belong yet. You are in a relationship, but somewhere underneath, you wonder if this is really the one. Because everything feels temporary, you never give your full self to any of it. You live like a spectator, sitting in the stands, watching your own life pass by from a safe distance. Marie-Louise von Franz, a close colleague of Carl Jung, noticed something surprising about people caught in this pattern. When they were children, many of them were actually gifted. Maybe you were the one who learned things quickly without much effort. Maybe you had a talent that made adults around you say, "This one is special." And you received a lot of praise for it. You were told you were exceptional. That praise quietly built something in you, an identity built entirely around potential, around being someone who could do anything, who would one day do something extraordinary. But then adulthood arrived. And in adulthood, potential is no longer what gets rewarded. The real world only recognizes what you actually do, what you finish, what you build, what you show up for, even when it is hard. When you started a new job or a new project and could not be great at it immediately, when you made mistakes, when you saw that other people were better than you at things you thought came naturally, those experiences did not just feel like setbacks. They felt like a direct threat to the identity you had built around being special. And to protect that identity, your mind did something very human. It activated procrastination as a defense. Because as long as you have not truly started, you can still believe that if you did start, you would be brilliant. The dream that is never tested is the dream that never fails. This protection mechanism creates 3 very specific traps that keep the eternal child stuck. The first trap is numbing. Every time life presents pressure or the fear of being found out, the instinct is not to face it, but to find something that makes you not feel it for a while. gaming until late at night, scrolling without really looking for anything, chasing short bursts of stimulation that feel like relief but leave you emptier than before. In the virtual world, you can be a hero who wins, but when the screen turns off, you return to a life that has not moved. The second trap is the avoidance of commitment. In the early stage of anything, when everything is new and full of possibility, you are genuinely enthusiastic. But the moment a relationship, a career, a project starts asking for real investment, for promises, for showing up even when it is not exciting anymore, something in you begins to pull back. You notice the flaws you did not see before. You find reasons why this is not quite right. You stay just close enough to feel connected, but just far enough to stay free. The third trap is the victim position. When the world asks more of you than you feel ready to give, the eternal child learns to see that pressure as unfair rather than necessary. The boss becomes the enemy. The responsibilities become injustice. The clock ticking becomes something being done to you, rather than something you can choose to move with. And every external obstacle becomes a reason why it is not your fault that nothing has changed. Recognizing these three traps is not the same as being trapped by them forever. There is a way out, but it does not look the way you might expect. Stay with me, because what comes next is the part most people in this situation have never been told. The first step is changing what you believe growing up actually means. One of the deepest fears underneath this pattern is the belief that becoming fully responsible will kill something important in you. That commitment will erase your freedom. That adulthood is a kind of slow surrender of everything interesting about you. But consider this. If someone has a genuine talent for writing, but never develops the discipline to sit down and do the work, that talent produces nothing. If someone has a brilliant idea, but is too afraid of failure to learn what implementation actually requires, that idea stays exactly where it started, in their head. Growing up does not destroy the part of you that is creative, curious, or full of possibility. It gives that part a structure, a foundation, something real to stand on, so that ideas can actually exist in the world instead of only in your imagination. The second step is learning to take ordinary things seriously. The eternal child tends to look down on routine, on small tasks, on the unglamorous work of daily life, because those things do not match the special image they have of themselves. But ordinary things done with genuine care are the practice ground for everything else. Clean your space. Follow through on a small commitment you made to yourself. Do something you said you would do, and do it well. Not because anyone is watching, but because the person who finishes things is who you are becoming. The third step is letting yourself actually try and actually fail. The core fear underneath all of this is the fear that if you really committed, really tried, you might find out you were not as capable as you hoped. But that fear only has power in the absence of real experience. When you expose yourself to actual attempts, actual rejection, actual feedback, you discover something that no amount of imagining could ever teach you. Failure is survivable. Being found imperfect does not end you. And the person who gets back up after falling in real life is stronger than the person who only ever won in their imagination. The fourth step is finding structure outside yourself. One of the most consistent patterns of the eternal child is the ability to negotiate with themselves endlessly about why today is not the right day. The mind is very creative when it comes to finding reasons to wait, which is why at the beginning, willpower alone is rarely enough. Find a teacher, a mentor, a community, or simply an environment where real effort is expected and real accountability exists. The pressure of a serious environment will hold you in place when the childlike part of you wants to drift back into comfort. There may be no single moment that pulls you out of where you are, no revelation that arrives and makes everything suddenly easy. But every day that passes without a real choice is a day that quietly becomes part of who you are. Carl Jung wrote something that carries real weight here. The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of its parents. If you keep living provisionally, if you keep holding your life at arm's length and waiting for conditions that never quite arrive, what you lose is not just time. The helplessness, the avoidance, the habit of watching from the stands. Those things do not stay contained to you. They shape how you show up in every relationship you have, in every promise you make, in everything you pass on to the people around you. But here is what is also true. The fact that you watched this video, the fact that something in it landed, means the part of you that wants something different is still there, still paying attention, still waiting for you to decide. Not someday, now. If any part of this felt like it was describing something you have been quietly aware of for a long time, leave one word in the comments. Just the word, ready. Because someone reading that word today is standing at the same place you are, and they need to know they are not the only one who finally wants to move.